The Shire is quiet. The lanterns are glowing. Welcome back to the Hobbit's hideout, where stories grow like leaves on the party tree. Hello guys. Today we re-embarking on a journey unlike any other, discovering a secret path that winds beneath the very heart of an ancient mountain, where warmth and wonder await in the depths below. This is a tale of hidden passages and forgotten chambers, of crystal gardens that bloom in eternal twilight, and of a sanctuary so peaceful that time itself seems to slow within its embrace. Before we wander into this hidden realm together, let's pause, take a long deep breath, and let the weight of your day melt away like morning mist on the party tree. You've earned this quiet moment, just for you. Imagine the soft grass beneath your feet, still warm from the day's sun, but beginning to cool as evening approaches. Feel the gentle breeze that carries with it the smell of fresh-baked bread from distant hobbit holes, the sweet perfume of honeysuckle climbing over garden gates, and the earthy scent of well-tended soil. Listen to the distant sound of laughter drifting from the Green Dragon Inn, where friends gather over pints of ale and bowls of hearty stew. If any part of this tale makes you smile or brings you a sense of peace, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Your stories and reflections help create this warm community we have built together here in our little corner of the internet. Now, let me paint the scene for you, brushstroke by gentle brushstroke, until you can feel yourself stepping into this world, as surely as if you were crossing the threshold of your own front door. The evening air is particularly still tonight, carrying with it not just the faint wood smoke from distant chimneys, but the complex symphony of scents that marks the transition from day to night in the countryside. There's the green smell of dew beginning to form on grass, the dusty sweetness of roads that have baked in sunshine all day and are now slowly releasing their stored warmth, and underneath it all the rich loamy scent of earth that speaks of growing things and ancient wisdom, buried deep in soil that has nurtured countless generations of plants and trees. You find yourself walking along a familiar path that winds through the gentle hills, but tonight this well-known route seems touched with something extraordinary. Your footsteps fall soft and rhythmic against the earth, which has been worn smooth by countless other travelers over the years. Merchants with their wagons, shepherds leading their flocks to new pastures, children racing between villages on errands for their parents' lovers, walking hand in hand under starlight. Each footfall connects you to this long history of journeys, making you part of a story much larger than yourself. The sky above deepens from the soft purple of twilight to the rich indigo of true night. And as it does, the first stars begin to appear like tiny lanterns hung by invisible hands in the heavens. These aren't the harsh, distant lights visible from cities, but the warm, twinkling stars that can only be seen from places where the darkness is gentle and welcoming. Venus hangs low on the horizon like a pearl dropped by some celestial princess, and the crescent moon, still pale and translucent, seems to smile down at the peaceful landscape below. Tonight feels different somehow. There's a whisper in the wind. It speaks of hidden places and forgotten paths, of secrets that the earth has been keeping safe for centuries, waiting for just the right moment and just the right person to reveal them. Your heart feels lighter than it has in days, weeks even, as if some invisible burden that you de-grown, so accustomed to carrying that you forgotten it was there, has suddenly been lifted from your shoulders. The world around you seems to breathe with ancient contentment, and you find your own breathing naturally slowing to match this peaceful rhythm, your chest rising and falling in harmony with the gentle pulse of the evening air. As you walk, you notice how the familiar path begins to change subtly. It asks nothing dramatic. The road doesn't suddenly veer off in a new direction or transform into something unrecognizable. Instead, the changes are gentle, almost dreamlike in their gradualism. The hedgerows grow a little wilder here, thick with honeysuckle, whose white and yellow trumpets release their intoxicating fragrance with each gentle breeze. Elder flowers hang in creamy clusters, their sweet scent mingling with the honeysuckle to create a perfume so lovely it makes you pause and breathe deeply, filling your lungs with this natural incense. Brambles heavy with blackberries wind through the hedges, their fruit just beginning to turn from red to deep purple in the gathering dusk. Here and there, wild roses climb through the tangle of greenery, their simple pink blooms glowing softly in the fading light. The sight of them reminds you of childhood summers, of long days spent exploring hedgerows just like these, of the simple pleasure of discovering beauty growing wild and free beside familiar paths. Fireflies begin their nightly dance as you walk, blinking in and out of existence, like tiny stars that have descended from the heavens to play among the leaves. Their light is warm and golden, nothing like the cold glare of electric bulbs, and it catches on dewdrops that have begun to form on spider webs stretched between the branches. These webs, invisible during the day, now become visible as intricate masterpieces, each strand outlined in perfect curls of moisture that create miniature galaxies sparkling in the growing darkness. You pause for a moment beneath a particularly large oak tree, whose massive trunk speaks of centuries of patient growth, feeling the cool night air fill your lungs completely. The bark of the tree is rough beneath your palm as you rest your hand against it, and you can almost feel the slow, steady pulse of life within, the movement of sap, the quiet respiration of leaves, the deep contentment of a being that has found its perfect place in the world and settled there with absolute confidence. There's something magical about this particular evening, something that makes you feel as though the very earth beneath your feet is humming with quiet joy. Perhaps it's the way the moonlight filters through the leaves above, creating ever-shifting patterns of silver and shadow that dance across the path ahead. Perhaps it's the sound of a distant stream that reaches your ears, its gentle babbling mixing with the soft chorus of night birds settling into their roosts among the branches. Or perhaps it's simply the perfect temperature of the air, warm enough to be comfortable, but cool enough to be refreshing, with just enough breeze to keep the air moving without disturbing the profound peace of the evening. The sound of the stream grows stronger as you continue walking, and you realize the path is leading you toward water. This makes sense. Paths often follow streams and rivers, taking advantage of the natural roots carved by water over millennia. The sound is incredibly soothing, a constant gentle murmur that seems to wash away any remaining tension from your day, leaving your mind clear and calm. As you round a gentle curve in the path, you catch your first glimpse of the stream itself. It is not a large waterway, perhaps 3 feet across at its widest point, but it moves with the confident purpose of water that knows exactly where it is going. The surface catches and reflects the starlight, creating a ribbon of liquid silver that winds through the landscape like a pathway made of light itself. The path curves ahead of you, following the stream toward a line of ancient trees whose gnarled branches seem to reach toward each other like old friends, sharing secrets across the generations. These are old trees, their trunks thick with age, and their branches heavy with the wisdom that comes from watching countless seasons pass. Moonlight filters through their leaves, which rustle softly in the gentle breeze, creating patterns of silver and shadow that shift and dance with each breath of wind. Some of these trees you recognize: the broad leaves of oak, the delicate fronds of ash, the heart-shaped leaves of lime trees that will fill the air with their honey scent when they bloom. Others are less familiar, their leaves shaped in ways that catch your eye and make you wonder about their stories, about the distant places their seeds might have traveled from before taking root in this peaceful spot. You find yourself drawn forward, your feet moving almost of their own accord along this peaceful route. There's no hurry in your steps, no sense of urgency or destination that must be reached. Instead, there's simply the pleasure of walking, of moving through this beautiful landscape at exactly the pace that feels right, with all the time in the world to notice and appreciate the small wonders that reveal themselves with each step. A barn owl calls softly from somewhere ahead, its voice floating through the night air like a gentle benediction. The sound is answered by another owl from across the stream, and for a moment their voices weave together in a brief duet before fading back into the peaceful silence of the evening. The sound makes you smile. There is something deeply comforting about knowing that the world is full of creatures going about their nightly business, that life continues in its ancient patterns regardless of human worries and concerns. As you approach the grove of ancient trees, their massive trunks rising like the pillars of some natural cathedral, you notice something unusual. Between two of the largest oaks, their trunks twisted together over centuries of growth like dancers frozen in an eternal embrace, there appears to be a gentle depression in the earth. It is not quite a path in the conventional sense. There are no obvious signs of human construction, no stones laid or earth deliberately flattened. Instead, it seems more like a natural feature, something that might have been carved by centuries of water flow, or perhaps formed by some shift in the underlying rock. But despite its natural appearance, there's something undeniably intentional about this depression, something that suggests purpose and design, even if that design comes from forces older and more patient than human planning. Curious, you step closer, your hand trailing along the rough bark of one of the great trees for balance and connection. The bark is deeply furrowed, each ridge and valley telling the story of decades of growth and weather. Moss grows in the deeper crevices, soft and green, even in the moonlight, and tiny insects make their homes in the countless small ecosystems created by the tree's ancient surface. This is a tree that has sheltered countless creatures over its long life, birds nesting in its branches, squirrels raising their young in its hollows, insects finding homes in its bark, and perhaps even humans seeking shelter beneath its spreading canopy during sudden summer storms. The depression leads downward at the gentlest of angles, so gradual that you have to look carefully to notice the slope at all. It's carpeted with the softest moss you've ever seen, so thick and lush that each step feels like walking on the most luxurious carpet ever woven. This moss glows faintly silver in the moonlight, not with any harsh illumination, but with the gentle phosphorescence sometimes seen in certain fungi or deep sea creatures, a soft welcoming light that seems to emanate from within rather than reflecting external sources. Scattered across this moss carpet are tiny white flowers, no larger than your thumbnail, their petals so delicate they seem almost translucent. They dot the surface like fallen stars, and as you kneel to examine them more closely, you discover that they too have their own faint luminescence, not bright enough to provide useful light, but just enough to add to the magical quality of this unusual place. The flowers have no stems that you can see. They seem to grow directly from the moss itself, as if they were not separate plants, but simply a different expression of the same life force that creates the glowing carpet beneath your feet. When you gently touch one of the petals, it feels cool and slightly damp, like morning dew that has somehow been given form and substance. The air here feels different, warmer somehow, despite the coolness of the night above, and carrying with it a scent that reminds you of mineral springs and deep earth, of places where the planet's inner heat warms underground pools and creates natural sanctuaries of warmth and comfort. There's also a hint of something floral, but not from any flower you recognize, something clean and sweet and entirely pleasant. You kneel beside this curious natural feature, running your fingers through the moss. It's incredibly soft, like the finest velvet or the fur of some impossibly gentle creature, and warm to the touch in a way that surprises you. The warmth seems to come from below, as if the earth itself is heated here by some deep source of comfort and welcome. As your eyes adjust to the deeper shadows between the trees, aided by the gentle glow of the moss and flowers, you begin to make out what appears to be a natural opening in the earth ahead. It's not a cave exactly. There's nothing harsh or forbidding about it. Instead, it looks more like a gentle fold in the landscape, a place where the earth has opened like a flower to reveal the wonders that lie beneath its surface. The opening is framed by the roots of the ancient trees, their massive underground networks, visible here as they arch and curve around the entrance, like natural buttresses or the ribs of some great cathedral. These roots are themselves works of art, polished smooth by centuries of underground water flow and carved into shapes that please the eye and invite the touch. Standing slowly, feeling the soft moss compress and then spring back beneath your feet, you feel a sense of wonder rather than any fear. This place feels safe, welcoming even, as if it has been waiting patiently for someone to discover it, perhaps waiting specifically for you on this particular night when you are ready to receive the gift it offers. The warm air that drifts up from the opening carries with it the faintest hint of something beautiful, perhaps the scent of underground gardens where impossible flowers bloom in eternal twilight, or thermal springs that have been warming themselves in the earth's embrace for millennia, or simply the clean, pure smell of deep places where the air has been filtered through layers of living rock until it becomes something precious and rare. You take a step forward, then another, following the mossy carpet as it leads you gently downward toward the mysterious opening. Your movement is unhurried, contemplative, driven by curiosity rather than any sense of urgency. The moss continues to glow softly beneath your feet, providing just enough light to show you the way, while maintaining the peaceful dimness that makes this place feel separate from the ordinary world above. The opening is wide enough for you to walk comfortably, with plenty of room to move without feeling cramped or confined. As you peer into it, you're surprised to see that it's not dark at all. Instead, a soft, golden light seems to emanate from somewhere deep within, like sunlight that has been filtered through honey and amber until it becomes something warm and welcoming and entirely benign. This light has a quality unlike anything you've experienced before, not the harsh glare of electric bulbs or the flickering uncertainty of candle flames, but something steady and warm and deeply comforting. It reminds you of the light that fills a room just before sunset on a perfect summer day, when everything seems touched with gold and the ordinary world becomes magical. You pause at the threshold of this underground realm, not from hesitation, but from a desire to fully appreciate this moment of transition. Above you, the night air continues its gentle movement through the leaves of the ancient trees, and you can still hear the distant murmur of the stream as it follows its age-old course through the landscape. But ahead of you lies something entirely new, a world that exists parallel to the familiar surface world, but operates according to different, older rules. Taking a deep breath of the warm, sweet air that flows up from the depths, you step across the threshold and begin your descent into the secret realm that lies beneath the ordinary world. The sensation is remarkable, like stepping from one element into another, from the familiar realm of night air and starlight into something altogether more mysterious and wonderful. The walls of this natural passage are smooth and curved, worn by countless years of water, flow into shapes that please the eye and invite the touch. They're not the rough, irregular surfaces you might expect in a natural cave, but something more refined, as if the water that carved them was guided by an aesthetic sense as well as purely physical forces. The stone itself is beautiful, not the gray limestone or rough granite you might expect, but something that seems to be made of layers of different materials, each band a slightly different color and texture. Some sections are pale gold, others warm amber, still others the deep green of jade or the soft blue of lapis lazuli. The overall effect is like walking through a passage carved from a single enormous geode, where every surface reveals new patterns and colors as you move. Tiny crystals embedded in these walls catch and reflect the mysterious golden light, creating a constellation of sparkles that seems to move and shift as you descend. Some of these crystals are no larger than grains of sand, others are the size of your thumb, and a few are large enough that you could cup them in your palm if they weren't firmly embedded in the living rock. Each crystal seems to have its own character, some clear as water, others colored like precious gems, still others with an opalescent quality that shifts through subtle rainbows as the light plays across their surfaces. Together, They create a display more beautiful than any jewelry you've ever seen. A natural artistry that speaks of the incredible creativity that lies at the heart of the natural world. The air grows warmer with each step you take, wrapping around you like a gentle embrace. This isn't the stifling heat of a closed room or the oppressive warmth of a summer day, but something altogether more pleasant. The kind of warmth that makes you want to relax completely, to let your shoulders drop and your breathing deepen to release tensions you didn't even know you were carrying. Your footsteps make almost no sound on the soft floor of the passage, which seems to be covered with more of the same silver moss you encountered above. Here, however, the moss has a different quality, softer and thicker, more like walking on a carpet woven from clods than on any earthly material. Each step feels like a gentle massage for your feet, and you find yourself walking more slowly than usual, savoring the unusual sensation. Here and there, small alcoves in the walls hold pools of crystal clear water that reflect the golden light like mirrors. These pools are perfectly round and surprisingly deep. Their surface is so still, they might be made of polished glass rather than water. When you pause to look into one of them, you can see that the bottom is lined with more of the beautiful crystals, creating a miniature underwater garden that sparkles in the reflected light. The water in these pools is remarkably clear, so transparent that it seems almost to be absence rather than substance. You can see every detail of the bottom, every individual crystal, every grain of sand that has settled there over what must be centuries of patient accumulation. The clarity is such that you feel you could reach down and touch the bottom, even though you can see that the pools are several feet deep. The sound of your own breathing mingles with a distant rhythmic sound, perhaps the echo of water dripping somewhere far ahead, or the gentle circulation of warm air through hidden chambers, or simply the pulse of this underground realm as it breathes with its own ancient rhythm. Whatever the source, the sound is deeply soothing, like a heartbeat or the rhythm of waves on a distant shore. As you continue your descent, you notice that the passage is gradually widening. What began as a comfortable walkway for one person is becoming broader, more spacious, with room for several people to walk side by side if they chose to. The ceiling rises higher above your head, and you begin to hear a new sound, the soft whisper of moving air, as if this underground realm breathes with a life of its own. The golden light grows stronger as you walk, though it never becomes harsh or glaring. Instead, it simply becomes more present, more welcoming, filling the space around you with its warm radiance. You realize that the light is coming from the crystals themselves. They seem to hold and amplify some natural luminescence, creating a warm, steady glow that banishes any sense of darkness or cold without ever becoming overwhelming. The temperature here is absolutely perfect, like the most beautiful spring day, when the sun warms your skin without being too hot, when the air is just the right combination of warmth and freshness to make you feel completely alive and comfortable. You find yourself removing your outer jacket and your sweater until you're comfortable in just your lightest layers, the warm air caressing your skin like silk. Ahead of you, the passage curves gently to the right, following what must be some natural fault in the rock, or perhaps the ancient course of an underground river. As you follow this curve, your pace naturally slowing as you take in the increasing beauty around you, you gasp softly in wonder at what you see. The tunnel opens into the first of what appears to be a series of natural chambers, each more beautiful than the last. This first chamber is roughly circular, perhaps 30 feet across, with a domed ceiling that rises perhaps 20 feet above your head. The proportions are perfect, large enough to feel spacious and grand, but not so large as to feel overwhelming or cold. The walls are lined with more of the glowing crystals, but here they've formed into natural sculptures that take your breath away. Some formations look like frozen waterfalls, their crystalline surfaces catching and reflecting the golden light in patterns that seem to flow and move even though they read completely solid. Others resemble delicate coral gardens with branch-like structures that extend from the walls in complex organic patterns. Still other formations look like flowers or trees carved from living light, structures so delicate and beautiful that they seem too fragile to be real, yet solid enough that you could reach out and touch them if you dared. The interplay of light and crystal creates an effect that is constantly changing as you move through the chamber, new patterns and formations revealing themselves from each angle. In the center of this chamber sits a pool of water, so clear it seems like liquid crystal. The pool is roughly circular, perhaps 10 feet across, with edges that seem to have been naturally carved from the same beautiful stone as the walls. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the crystal formations above like a perfect mirror, creating the illusion that you're standing in the middle of a sphere rather than a dome. You approach this pool slowly, drawn by its perfect stillness and clarity. As you kneel beside it, the warm stone comfortable beneath your knees, you can see that the bottom is lined with smooth stones of various colors. These aren't rough pebbles, but polished gems, deep blues and greens that remind you of the ocean depths, warm ambers and rose quartz that glow like sunset, clear crystals that seem to contain their own inner light. These stones have been arranged in patterns that seem almost deliberate, though you can't quite determine what the pattern means. Some form spirals that draw the eye inward toward the center of the pool. Others create radiating lines like the petals of a flower or the rays of the sun. The overall effect is mesmerizing, beautiful, and deeply peaceful. You cup your hands and lift some of the water to your lips, curious about its taste and temperature. The water is perfectly clean and pure, with a slight mineral sweetness that seems to refresh you from the inside out. It's exactly the right temperature, neither cool nor warm, but perfectly neutral, as if it has been waiting at just the right temperature for you to discover it. As you drink, you feel a sense of deep peace settling over you, as if this water carries with it not just physical refreshment, but something more, the calm of deep places and ancient wisdom, the patience of stone, and the contentment of things that have found their perfect place in the world and are completely satisfied to remain there. The water seems to clear your mind, as well as refreshing your body. Thoughts that have been circling endlessly in your head suddenly settle. Into stillness, worries that have been nagging at you fade into irrelevance, and you find yourself simply present in this moment, in this beautiful place, without any need to be anywhere else or do anything else. Rising from beside the pool, feeling refreshed and peaceful in a way you haven't experienced in longer than you can remember, you notice that there are 3 passages leading from this chamber. Each glows with that same golden light. Each seems to beckon with its own particular invitation. The passage to your left curves away into mystery, its walls decorated with formations that suggest wind-carved stone and flowing water. The passage to your right disappears into gentle shadows, but you can hear what sounds like the faint whisper of moving air from that direction. The passage that leads straight ahead, however, draws your attention most strongly. From somewhere in its depths comes the gentle sound of flowing water, not the drip-drop of the pools you have passed, but the soft babbling of a stream or small river. The sound is irresistibly appealing, promising new wonders and deeper peace. You choose this forward passage, drawn by the musical sound of water and the promise of whatever lies beyond. This new tunnel is wider still than the entrance passage, with a ceiling high enough that you can't quite see where it ends in the golden glow above. Walking here feels like moving through a natural cathedral, with space enough for reverence and wonder. The walls here are adorned with formations that look like natural sculptures, created by an artist of impossible skill. Some formations resemble flowing fabric frozen in stone, curtains and drapes that seem to move in some unfelt breeze their surfaces, so smooth and realistic that you have to resist the urge to reach out and test their texture with your fingers. Other formations look like delicate flowers or trees carved from living light. There are structures that remind you of coral reefs with their complex branching patterns and intricate details, and others that look like Abstract art, pure form and beauty. It speaks to something deep in your aesthetic sense without needing to represent anything from the familiar world above. The floor beneath your feet has changed as well, now covered with what appears to be fine, soft sand that feels wonderful beneath your feet. This sand is warm, not hot, but pleasantly warm, as if it has been heated by some gentle, invisible sun. The grains are perfectly smooth and round, more like tiny pearls than ordinary sand, and they shift and flow beneath your steps in the most satisfying way imaginable. The color of this sand shifts as you walk, sometimes pale gold, sometimes silver, sometimes with hints of rose or lavender that catch the crystal light and reflect it back in subtle rainbows. Each step creates small patterns in the sand, temporary mandala-like designs that form and disappear with each footfall, as if the very ground beneath your feet is participating in the artistry of this magical place. As you walk, you begin to hear that stream more clearly, and the sound draws you forward with increasing anticipation. The babbling has a musical quality, not the random gurgling of ordinary water, but something more organized, more intentional, as if the water itself has learned to sing during its long journey through these hidden passages. Soon you come upon the source of this beautiful sound, a narrow ribbon of water that flows along one side of the passage, perhaps 2 feet wide and crystal clear. The water moves with the perfect speed and rhythm of a gentle song, bubbling quietly over smooth stones and creating the most peaceful sound imaginable. This isn't the rush of a mountain torrent or the sluggish movement of a lowland river, but something perfectly balanced, perfectly peaceful. The stream flows in what appears to be a channel carved specifically for it, not rough and irregular like a stream that has carved its own course, but smooth and purposeful, as if someone or something with perfect aesthetic sense has created the ideal pathway for water to follow. The channel is lined with the same beautiful stone as the walls, polished to a mirror finish by centuries of gentle water flow. You kneel beside this stream, drawn by its beauty and the musical quality of its movement. The water is even clearer than what you found in the pools above, so transparent that it seems to be made of liquid air rather than any earthly substance. You can see every grain of sand on the bottom, every small stone, every tiny crystal that has settled there during the stream's long journey. When you cup your hands and taste this flowing water, you discover that it's even more refreshing than the pool water above. There's something alive about it, something vibrant and energizing that seems to flow through your entire body with each sip. It's not just water, it's vitality itself, the essence of life and growth and health flowing in liquid form. Following this stream as it winds through the passage becomes one of the most peaceful experiences of your life. Sometimes the water disappears into small openings in the wall, only to emerge again a few steps further on from some hidden reservoir or underground spring. Sometimes it widens into small pools where tiny fish, or creatures that might be fish, swim in lazy circles, their scales catching the crystal light like living jewels. These creatures are unlike any fish you've seen in the surface world. Some are translucent, their internal structures visible like delicate anatomical drawings. Others glow with their own soft light, pulsing gently as they move through the clear water like living stars. Still others seem to be made of the same crystalline material as the formations on the walls, their bodies refracting the golden light into prismatic rainbows as they swim. None of these creatures seem afraid of you. When you extend your hand toward the water, they swim closer rather than away, some even allowing your fingers to brush against their smooth sides. Their touch is cool and pleasant, like touching silk or the smoothest glass, and you get the impression that they're as curious about you as you are about them. The stream leads you through several smaller chambers, each with its own character and beauty. In one, the walls are covered with formations that look like frozen music, curved lines and flowing shapes that seem to represent melody and harmony made visible. The acoustics in this chamber are remarkable. Every sound, from your footsteps to your breathing to the babbling of the stream, is enhanced and beautified, creating a natural concert hall where even silence becomes musical. In another chamber, the formations resemble a forest of crystal trees, their branches reaching toward the ceiling in complex patterns that create natural archways and alcoves. The light filtering through these crystal branches creates patterns on the walls and floor that shift and dance like sunlight filtering through a forest canopy, even though there's no movement in the air to create such effects. The stream flows through all of these chambers, sometimes widening into shallow pools, where you can see more of the strange and beautiful creatures that live in these depths, sometimes narrowing to a mere trickle that disappears into cracks in the stone, only to emerge again stronger than before. Its song changes with each chamber, sometimes higher and more musical, sometimes deeper and more resonant, but always peaceful, always welcoming. As you follow the stream deeper into this underground realm, you begin to lose track of time entirely. There are no clocks here, no artificial markers of the passage of hours and minutes. Instead, time seems to move according to natural rhythms, the pulse of the crystal light, the breathing of the mountain itself, the eternal song of flowing water. You could have been walking for minutes or hours, and it wouldn't matter. This is a place outside of ordinary time, where duration is measured not in minutes, but in experiences, in moments of wonder and discovery. The passage gradually opens into larger and larger spaces, until you realize you're walking through chambers so vast that your footsteps echo softly in the golden lit distances. The ceiling disappears into gentle shadows far above, supported by natural pillars of stone that twist and flow like frozen dancers. These pillars are works of art in themselves, each one unique, each one beautiful in its own way. Some pillars are perfectly straight and smooth, like columns in an ancient temple. Others spiral as they rise, creating helical patterns that draw the eye upward toward the invisible ceiling. Still others branch and divide like trees, their stone limbs, reaching out to support the vast weight of the mountain above, with an elegance that human architecture has never achieved. The stream continues to be your guide through these increasingly magnificent spaces, its song echoing softly from the distant walls and ceiling. But now you begin to hear other sounds as well. The gentle drip of water from formations high above, the soft whisper of air moving through hidden passages, and underneath it all a sound so low and constant that you feel it more than hear it. The breathing of the mountain itself, the slow circulation of air through passages and chambers that extend far beyond what you can see. The air continues to grow warmer as you descend, but it's never uncomfortable. Instead, it's like being embraced by the perfect temperature, the ideal balance of warmth and freshness that makes you want to relax completely. You find yourself walking more slowly, not from fatigue, but from a desire to savor every moment, every sight, every sensation of this incredible journey. Your path leads you to the entrance of another chamber, and as you step inside, you can't help but pause in amazement. This chamber is even larger than the ones you've passed through, with a ceiling that disappears into golden-lit mystery far above. But what takes your breath away isn't the size of the space, it's what is growing here. Gardens. Actual gardens, growing here in the heart of the mountain, far from any sunlight or rain or soil from the surface world. But these aren't ordinary gardens with familiar flowers and vegetables. These are something entirely new, entirely magical, entirely beautiful. Soft, luminescent moss carpets much of the floor, but this moss is different from what you've seen before. It grows in patterns, spirals and circles, and flowing lines that seem to have meaning, even if you can't quite understand what that meaning might be. Some sections glow with a pale blue light, others with soft green or gentle pink, and still others with a warm golden radiance that complements the crystal light from the walls. Interspersed with this patterned moss are patches of what appear to be flowers, but flowers unlike any that grow in the surface world. Some are tall and elegant, with petals that seem to be made of the finest spun glass, so delicate they appear translucent. Others are low and spreading, their leaves broad and thick, glowing with an inner light that pulses gently like a slow heartbeat. There are flowers that look like tiny stars scattered across the moss, their pointed petals radiating light in all directions. Others resemble bells or cups, their blooms turned upward as if waiting to catch some celestial rain. Still others are so abstract in their beauty that they don't remind you of any earthly flower. They are simply pure form and color and light, beautiful for their own sake. These strange and wonderful plants seem to sway in the warm air currents that flow through the chamber, even though there's no visible wind. They move with a grace and purpose that suggests they are not just plants, but something more. Perhaps the physical expression of music or poetry, beauty made manifest in living form. The colors are extraordinary, not the bold, primary colors of surface flowers, but subtle gradations and combinations that seem to shift and change as you move through the garden. A flower that appears pale blue from one angle reveals hints of lavender and silver from another. A blossom that seems golden at first glance shows depths of amber and rose when you look more closely. Along the walls of this garden chamber, the natural stone formations have created terraces and ledges where more of these luminescent plants grow. The effect is like stepping into a fairy garden or an ancient temple dedicated to the beauty of growing things. Water trickles down some of these wall gardens, creating tiny waterfalls that feed the plants and add their gentle music to the symphony of sounds that fills this magical space. The air here is sweet and clean, filled with the gentle fragrance of these impossible blooms. It's not overwhelming or cloying like some strong perfumes, but subtle and complex, with layers of scent that reveal themselves gradually as you breathe. There are floral notes, certainly, but also hints of clean earth and fresh water, of growing things and life itself. You walk slowly through this underground garden, your feet silent on the soft moss, feeling like you've discovered something precious and rare that few people have ever seen. Here and there, you discover small clearings where natural seats of stone, worn smooth by time and water, seem to invite rest and contemplation. These seats are positioned perfectly to take advantage of the most beautiful views of the garden, as if someone with exquisite aesthetic sense has arranged them for maximum beauty and comfort. You choose one of these seats near the center of the chamber, settling yourself comfortably on stone that's surprisingly warm and perfectly shaped to support your body. The surface is smooth as silk beneath your hands, polished by countless years of flowing water until it feels more like carved marble than natural rock. From this vantage point, you can see the entire garden spread out before you like a living tapestry of light and color. Sitting here in perfect comfort, you become aware of the subtle sounds that fill this magical space. There's the gentle drip of water from somewhere high above, each drop creating tiny ripples in hidden pools that catch and scatter the crystal light. There's the soft whisper of air moving through the chamber, stirring the luminescent plants in their eternal dance. And underneath it all, that deep, rhythmic pulse that seems to be the heartbeat of the mountain itself. These sounds blend together into a natural symphony that seems designed specifically to calm the mind and soothe the spirit. Your breathing naturally slows to match this peaceful rhythm, your heartbeat settling into harmony with the ancient pulse of this underground sanctuary. For the first time in longer than you can remember, your mind becomes completely quiet, all the chattering thoughts and worries that usually fill your consciousness simply dissolving into the profound peace of this place. You close your eyes and simply listen for a while, letting the sounds wash over you like a gentle tide. When you open them again, you notice details you missed before, the way certain flowers seem to pulse with light in response to your presence, as if they're aware of you and welcoming you to their garden. You see how the patterns in the moss seem to flow and change subtly, like slow rivers of light moving across the chamber floor. There are tiny movements everywhere, not the quick, nervous movements of surface creatures, but slow, graceful shifts that speak of perfect contentment and endless time. A flower here slowly opens another layer of petals, revealing new depths of color and light. A strand of moss there extends itself by imperceptible degrees, reaching toward a patch of warmer air or better light. The stream that has been your guide continues to flow through this garden chamber, sometimes visible as it babbles over small stones, sometimes disappearing into the moss, only to emerge again a few yards away. The fish-like creatures continue their lazy swimming, joined now by other beings that are even more fantastical. Creatures that seem to be made of living light, others that appear to be half plant and half animal, moving through the water with the grace of dancers and the purposefulness of gardeners tending their domain. You watch one of these light beings as it swims close to where you sit. It's roughly the size and shape of a large fish, but instead of scales, it seems to be composed of flowing patterns of golden light. As it moves, these patterns shift and change like aurora borealis, captured in living form. When it notices your attention, it swims closer to the surface, and you get the distinct impression that it is studying you with the same curiosity you re-showing toward it. The creature extends what might be a fin, or perhaps just a tendril of light, toward your hand where it rests on the edge of the stone seat. When you slowly extend your finger to meet this touch, the sensation is extraordinary. Not physical contact exactly, but something warmer and more intimate. For a moment, you feel connected to this being's sense of peace and contentment, its deep satisfaction with its existence in this perfect place. After some time spent in this peaceful communion with the garden and its unusual inhabitants, you feel ready to continue your journey. Rising from the comfortable stone seat, you stretch muscles that have relaxed more completely than they have in years. Every joint feels loose and comfortable, every muscle soft and tension-free. It is as if the very act of sitting in this magical garden has provided the most effective massage you've ever received. At the far end of the garden chamber, you discover another passage, this one marked by an archway of natural stone that seems almost too perfect to be accidental. The arch is formed by two flowing formations that meet overhead in a graceful curve, decorated with smaller crystals that create a constellation of gentle lights around the opening. Through this archway, you can see that the passage beyond glows with an even warmer, more golden light than anything you've encountered so far. As you approach this new threshold, you notice that the archway is carved, or perhaps naturally formed, with patterns that seem to tell a story. Flowing lines suggest wind and water, growth and time, the slow dance of seasons passing, and the eternal cycle of change and renewal. Running your hand along these carved patterns, you feel a connection to something ancient and patient, something that has been waiting here long before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. The passage beyond the archway slopes downward more noticeably than any you've encountered so far, and you realize you must be descending quite deep within the mountain now. But rather than feeling enclosed or trapped, you feel embraced by the earth itself, held safely in its ancient arms, like a child being carried to sleep by a loving parent. The temperature has grown even warmer in this deeper passage, and you find yourself removing the last of your outer layers, comfortable now in only the lightest clothes as the gentle heat rises from somewhere even deeper below. This warmth feels wonderful, not the artificial heat of radiators or furnaces, but something more natural and nurturing, like being warmed by the earth's own inner fire. The walls of this deeper passage are different from anything you've seen before. They seem to tell an even more complex story in stone, flowing lines and gentle curves that suggest not just natural forces, but something more intentional, more artistic. These aren't random erosion patterns, but something that looks almost like written language, if that language were composed of flowing stone and crystalline light, rather than letters and words. Some sections of these wall stories seem to depict the passage of time itself, spirals that suggest the turning of seasons, wave-like patterns that might represent the rise and fall of years, complex interlacing designs that could be the visual representation of centuries or millennia flowing past like water. Other sections seem more abstract, pure beauty for its own sake, patterns that please the eye and calm the mind without needing to represent anything from the familiar world. The passage continues to follow the underground stream, which has grown wider and deeper as you've descended. What began as a narrow ribbon of water has become a proper underground river, perhaps 6 feet across and deep enough that you can't see the bottom despite its perfect clarity. The water moves more slowly here, with the stately pace of a river that knows exactly where it's going and has all the time in the world to get there. The sound of this larger waterway is correspondingly deeper and more musical. Instead of the babbling of a small stream, you now hear something that is almost like singing, a complex harmony of water moving over stone that creates natural melodies and rhythms. Sometimes the sound is higher and lighter when the water flows over smaller stones or through narrower channels. Sometimes it's deeper and more resonant when the river moves through wider pools or over larger obstacles. This water music seems to change as you walk, as if the river is performing a concert just for you, shifting from movement to movement in some vast aquatic symphony. The acoustics of the passage enhance and amplify these natural sounds, creating an auditory experience that's both relaxing and uplifting, like the world's most perfect ambient music composed by the earth itself. As you follow this underground river deeper into the mountain, you begin to see that the passage is opening into even larger spaces. The walls curve away from you in graceful arcs, and the ceiling rises higher and higher until it disappears entirely into golden-lit distances above. You're walking now through chambers so vast that they feel more like underground valleys than rooms, spaces large enough to contain entire forests, if such things could grow in the depths of the earth. The river flows through the center of these vast chambers, sometimes widening into lakes of crystal clear water that reflect the formations above like perfect mirrors. These underground lakes are so still that they create perfect reflections, doubling the beauty of the crystal formations and making it seem as though you were walking through a sphere of beauty rather than a dome. In these larger chambers, the crystal formations have grown to extraordinary size and complexity. Some rise from floor to ceiling like the pillars of an impossibly grand cathedral, their surfaces carved with natural patterns, so intricate and beautiful that they seem like the work of master artists rather than simple geological processes. Others hang from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls of light, their crystalline surfaces catching and refracting the golden glow into rainbow cascades that paint the walls with constantly shifting colors. The formations here seem more alive somehow, more responsive to your presence. As you walk past them, they seem to pulse gently with increased light, as if they're aware of you and welcoming you deeper into their realm. Some formations even seem to resonate musically as you pass, adding their crystalline voices to the song of the flowing water. The fish creatures in these deeper waters are larger and even more fantastic than those you encountered above. Some seem to be made entirely of liquid light, flowing through the water like aurora borealis, given aquatic form. Others appear to be constructed from the same crystalline material as the formations, their transparent bodies refracting the golden light into prismatic displays as they swim. There are creatures here that defy any earthly category, beings that seem to be half mineral and half animal. Others that appear to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously their forms shifting and changing as they move through the clear water. All of them radiate the same sense of peace and contentment that permeates this entire underground realm, as if they've found their perfect place in existence and are completely satisfied with their lives in this hidden sanctuary. The deeper you go, the more you feel that you're approaching something significant, not a destination in the ordinary sense, but the heart of whatever mystery this secret path has been leading you toward. The air grows even warmer and more fragrant, carrying hints of scents you can't identify, but that fill you with a sense of anticipation and wonder. The passage ahead curves in a wide arc, and as you follow this curve, the golden light grows stronger and more complex, no longer the single warm glow. you've been following, but something richer and more varied, as if multiple sources of light are coming together in some grand convergence ahead. The sound of the water changes too, growing deeper and more resonant, as if the river is approaching some vast chamber or underground sea, where its voice can finally expand to its full potential. Your footsteps begin to echo slightly in the growing space, and you realize you're approaching something truly extraordinary. Around the final curve of the passage, you discover the heart of the secret path, a chamber so vast and magnificent that it takes your breath away and makes you stop in your tracks, overwhelmed by its beauty and grandeur. This final chamber is circular and enormous, easily large enough to contain a cathedral or concert hall, with walls that rise in terraced levels toward a ceiling so high it disappears into mysterious golden distances above. But the size alone isn't what makes this space so magnificent. It is the way every surface, every formation, every detail seems to work together to create a symphony of beauty that touches something deep in your soul. The walls rise in natural terraces, each level lined with crystal formations of increasing size and complexity. The lowest level, near the floor where you stand, features formations that are intimate and detailed, small enough that you could examine each one individually and discover new patterns and colors in their crystalline depths. The next level up displays larger formations, more dramatic in their scope, but still comprehensible to human scale. As your eye travels upward, the formations become increasingly grand and abstract until the highest levels that you can see feature crystal structures so large and complex that they seem like frozen music or captured light. Beauty so pure and abstract that it bypasses rational thought and speaks directly to your aesthetic sense. But what makes this chamber truly extraordinary is the way all these formations pulse gently with light that shifts through subtle gradations of color. The light isn't random or chaotic, but follows patterns that create a slow, stately rhythm like the breathing of some vast, benevolent creature. Sometimes the walls glow with warm golden light, like sunset captured in crystal. Sometimes the light shifts to pale green, like sunlight filtering through water. Sometimes it becomes the softest pink, like the first light of dawn touching clouds. These color changes flow across the chamber in waves, creating effects of indescribable beauty as the light moves from formation to formation, terrace to terrace, creating patterns that seem almost like visual music. The timing is perfect, slow enough that you can appreciate each color and each pattern, but with enough variation to keep the display endlessly fascinating. In the center of this magnificent chamber, the underground river reaches its culmination in a circular lake of crystal clear water. This lake is perhaps 50 feet across, perfectly round, with shores of the same beautiful polished stone that you've been walking on throughout your journey. The water is so clear and still that it creates a perfect mirror, reflecting the entire chamber above and making it seem as though you're standing at the center of a sphere of pure beauty. But the most remarkable feature of this central lake is the small island that sits in its exact center. This island is also perfectly circular, perhaps 10 feet across, and appears to be made of a single piece of smooth, warm stone that glows with its own gentle inner light. The stone looks like it might be jade or some precious mineral, but its surface is so smooth and perfect that it seems almost like polished glass. You can see that this island is accessible by a series of stepping stones that rise just above the surface of the crystal clear water. These stones appear to be made of the same material as the island itself, each one perfectly shaped and positioned to create a secure path across the still water. Without hesitation, feeling drawn by some irresistible attraction, you make your way across these stepping stones, your steps sure and confident, despite the unusual nature of the path. Each stepping stone feels warm and solid beneath your feet, and as you move from stone to stone, you notice that your footsteps create tiny ripples in the perfect surface of the lake. These ripples spread outward in perfect circles, disturbing the mirror-like reflection for just a moment before the water returns to its glassy stillness. The island itself is even more remarkable up close than it appeared from the shore. The surface is perfectly smooth and warm to the touch, with a gentle depression in its center that seems designed specifically for human comfort. This natural seat is exactly the right size and shape, as if the stone has been waiting for centuries for someone exactly like you to discover it. As you settle yourself in this natural chair, you realize that this must be the true destination of the secret path. Not just a physical place, but a state of being, a condition of perfect rest and peace that exists at the heart of all things. From this central position, you can see the entire chamber in all its magnificent beauty, can appreciate the slow dance of colored light across the crystal formations, can hear the complex harmonies created by water and stone, and the gentle circulation of warm air through hidden passages. But more than seeing or hearing, you can feel something here, a presence that isn't quite physical, but is definitely real. It's as if the mountain itself is aware of you, as if all the beauty and peace you've encountered on your journey has been building toward this moment of perfect communion between yourself and the ancient wisdom that dwells in the deep places of the earth. You lie back on the warm stone, your body perfectly supported by its smooth curves, and look up at the crystal formations that decorate the ceiling high above. From this angle, they create a constellation of gentle lights that pulse and shift in their eternal rhythm, like stars that have descended from the heavens to dance in this underground sanctuary. The warmth of the stone beneath you seems to seep into every muscle, every joint, releasing tensions you didn't even know you were holding. Your breathing slows and deepens automatically, matching the gentle rhythm of the pulsing crystals above. The sound of the water becomes a lullaby, soft and continuous, wrapping around you like a blanket woven from pure peace. You realize that this place exists outside of normal time, outside of the worries and hurries of the surface world. Here, in the warm heart of the mountain, there is only this moment, only this perfect peace, only the gentle embrace of stone and water and light that has existed for thousands of years and will continue to exist for thousands more. The thought comes to you that you have found something precious and rare, not just a beautiful place, but a state of consciousness, a way of being that represents the deepest possible rest and contentment. This is what you've been seeking without knowing it, what your spirit has been hungry for through all the busy days and restless nights of ordinary life. Your eyelids grow heavy as you lie there on the warm stone, but it's not the heaviness of exhaustion. Instead, it's the comfortable weight of complete relaxation, of a body and mind that have finally found the rest they've been seeking. The lights above seem to pulse in time with your heartbeat, or perhaps your heartbeat has slowed to match their ancient rhythm. The lake continues its perfect stillness around your island sanctuary, and you find your thoughts beginning to drift like leaves on its motionless surface. Memories of the surface world seem distant and unimportant now, not forgotten, but simply set aside for this time of perfect rest. Here, in this secret place beneath the mountain, there is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to think about except the pure experience of being held safely in the Earth's ancient embrace. The crystal light grows softer, more golden, like sunlight filtering through honey or amber. The sound of moving water becomes more distant, as if you're hearing it from a great depth of peace. Your body feels weightless on the warm stone, as if you're floating in a sea of perfect comfort rather than lying on solid rock. You become aware that your journey to this place has changed you in ways you're only beginning to understand. The path you followed to get here, through the moonlit grove, down the gentle passages, past the pools and gardens and flowing formations, has washed away the dust and noise of ordinary life, leaving you clean and quiet and deeply at peace in a way you haven't experienced since childhood. The realization comes to you that you could remain here forever, resting in this warm sanctuary, listening to the eternal song of the underground waters and watching the slow dance of crystal light. But you also know that eventually you'll return to the surface world, carrying with you the memory of this place and the knowledge that such perfect peace exists and can be found again whenever you need it. For now, though, there is only this: the gentle pulse of crystal light painting slow rainbows across the chamber walls, the warm embrace of ancient stone that has learned the art of perfect comfort, the soft music of water flowing through darkness towards some distant underground sea. Your breathing has become so slow and regular that it barely seems like breathing at all, more like a gentle tide that ebbs and flows through your body in harmony with the mountain's own respiration. The lights above begin to dim slightly, not growing dark, but taking on the softer quality of stars, seen through a summer haze, or moonlight filtered through mist. The warmth of the stone beneath you spreads through your entire body like liquid contentment, relaxing muscles you didn't know were tense, easing joints you didn't realize were stiff, bringing a sense of physical peace, so complete that you feel as though you re-melting into the warm stone itself. You feel yourself sinking deeper into this perfect rest, your consciousness gently dissolving into the peaceful rhythm of this underground sanctuary. The lake continues its mirror-still perfection. The crystals pulse with their patient light, and you rest in the heart of the mountain, like a child cradled in the arms of the most loving parent imaginable. Time moves differently here, measured not in minutes or hours, but in heartbeats and breaths, in the slow pulse of crystal light and the eternal flow of underground waters. You drift in this timeless space, perfectly safe, perfectly at peace, perfectly held by forces older and more patient than human understanding can grasp. The secret path has led you to its deepest treasure, not gold or precious gems, but this: the rediscovery of what it means to be completely at rest, completely at peace, completely trusting in the gentle strength that holds all things together. Here in the warm heart of the earth, you remember what you had perhaps forgotten in the busy surface world, that beneath all the noise and hurry of daily life, there exists this deeper rhythm, this profound peace, this eternal invitation to come home to yourself. The crystal formations continue their gentle pulsing, like the slow breathing of the mountain itself, and you breathe with them, your own rhythm synchronized with this ancient dance of light and stone and flowing water. Each breath carries you deeper into peace. Each pulse of light releases another layer of tension you didn't know you were carrying, until you feel lighter than air, more peaceful than sleep, more content than you ever imagined possible. Your thoughts have become like the luminescent creatures in the lake, occasional, graceful, appearing briefly in the depths of consciousness, like beautiful fish swimming through clear water, then disappearing again into the peaceful darkness of complete rest. There's nothing you need to think about, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to plan or worry about or solve. There is only this moment, this breath, this perfect rest in the secret heart of the mountain, where all the pathways of peace converge into a single point of absolute stillness. The warmth continues to flow through you, carried on currents older than memory, warming places in your spirit that have been cold for longer than you realized, healing parts of yourself that you didn't even know needed healing. This is not just physical warmth, but something deeper, the warmth of being completely accepted, completely loved, completely safe in a way that asks nothing of you except that you receive this gift of perfect rest. It's the warmth of coming home after a long journey of finding the place where you belong, of discovering that the peace you've been seeking has been waiting for you, all along in the deep, quiet places of the world. Above you, the crystal formations seem to breathe with their own slow rhythm, expanding and contracting almost imperceptibly, like the lungs of some vast, benevolent creature. You breathe with them, your chest rising and falling in harmony with this ancient respiration, your body learning again the deep, natural rhythms it was born, knowing that it had forgotten in the complexity of surface life. The sound of moving water has become part of your heartbeat now, its flowing melody interweaving with the pulse of blood through your veins and the gentle circulation of breath through your lungs. You are no longer separate from this place. You have become part of its peace, part of its ancient contentment, part of its eternal rest that exists at the center of all movement and change. The stone beneath you has become softer than any bed ever made, warmer than any fire ever kindled, more comfortable than any chair ever crafted by human hands. It supports you perfectly, as if it has been shaped by centuries of patient stone dreams, specifically for this moment, specifically for your body, specifically for your deep need to rest completely and utterly. Your muscles have forgotten how to hold tension. Your mind has forgotten how to worry. Your spirit has remembered what it feels like to be perfectly safe, perfectly loved, perfectly at home in the deep places where peace is not something you achieve or maintain, but something you simply are, something that flows through you like the warm currents that rise from the earth's heart. Here, in this secret chamber beneath the mountain, you have found what the winding path was always leading toward, not just a destination, but a recognition, not just a place, but a state of being that represents the deepest possible rest and the most complete possible peace. This is the gift of the secret path, the reminder that such peace exists, that it can be found, that it is always available to those who know how to look for it in the quiet places where the world keeps its deepest secrets. The crystal light grows dimmer and more golden still, taking on the soft quality of candlelight, seen through honey, or the gentle glow of fireflies dancing in summer twilight. The water's song becomes even softer, like a lullaby sung by the earth herself to her children, as they settle into the deepest sleep, the most peaceful dreams. Your breathing has become so slow and peaceful that each inhalation seems to last for minutes, each exhalation releasing you deeper into this perfect rest. The boundary between sleeping and waking has dissolved entirely, leaving you in a state that's more restful than sleep, more aware than waking, suspended in perfect peace between all the ordinary categories of consciousness. You rest now in the secret heart of the mountain, held safely in arms of stone and warmed by fires older than human memory, surrounded by beauty that exists for its own sake and peace that asks nothing of you except that you receive it. The path you followed to reach this place was not just a journey through underground passages, but a journey home to the peaceful center that exists within you always, waiting to be rediscovered. The lights pulse gently like a slow heartbeat. The water flows with the patience of centuries, and you rest in perfect peace, knowing that this sanctuary exists not just beneath the mountain, but within your own heart, ready to welcome you whenever you need to remember what true peace feels like. Here, in the deepest quiet, where all the paths of peace converge, all is well. All is calm. All is exactly as it should be, has always been, and will always be. And as the crystal light dims to the softest glow, like stars reflected in still water, or moonbeams caught in morning mist, and the river's song becomes a whisper, softer than breath, and the warmth of ancient stone holds you in its timeless embrace, you sink into the deepest rest you have ever known. The secret path has brought you home, to yourself, to peace, to the place where rest is not something you do, but something you are. And here, in this warm sanctuary beneath the world, you are finally, completely, eternally at ease. Thank you for sharing this quiet moment with me tonight, dear traveler. Until our paths cross again beneath the party tree, rest well, knowing that the Shire is always here, waiting to welcome you home.